Aloha and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson, coming to you today from Puna Palisades on the Big Island of Hawaii. And to start out, I have Bob Shine and Lori Tibitot as my panelists. This is so fun. Also have some really great questions from people today. I'm stoked to be able to come and be with you and share with you and answer these questions. Yay. So let's just get started. Let's go. I have something here that came in last week right after the show. Free will. This is a fun one. I don't think it's real. And you often say that we don't have a choice, right? Can you unravel this? Okay. So we were talking about this yesterday in in-person wisdom dialogues. So it's like you don't have a choice in anything that occurs in the dream. You don't have a choice about anything that occurs in the dream. You could say you're orchestrating the whole thing from a higher place in your mind, so to speak, because from the projected mind, which is who you think you are, making choices in the world, right? That's not really occurring like that. The choices are being made as part of one show, let's say, one play on the screen. So the choices that you think you're making, like say between whether you're going to go to Kahana Beach or Pohoiki Beach, right? That's not really a choice that you're making. That's an illusion of choice. Or a choice like, am I going to marry this person? You don't have a choice in that. Even a choice, am I going to go to this party? Or am I going to say this? Anything like that. It's not a choice. Anything on the surface like that, that's not the way it is. You're orchestrating it, but you're orchestrating it from a higher place before consciousness, let's say. You're orchestrating it from before consciousness to bring about everything that you need, all the lessons that you need to undo the belief, the self-belief that brings about the whole world in the first place. It brings about the need for the world. Now, behind that, or you could say within that, there's a choice that you always have and you're always making, always. It's from moment to moment, you could say. You're always making a choice. And that's whether to believe in the illusion as if it's true or to recognize the truth. Okay? You're always making that choice. And to choose recognizing the truth, it just takes a little bit of willingness, just a little bit of willingness. And let me give you like just one example. Let's say one example comes to mind. This is a really real simple one that's coming up lately, where you feel physically tired. Physically, you feel tired, and your mind immediately moves to associate that tiredness with something that occurred in the illusion. Like, let's say, oh, I only slept an hour and a half last night, or I ran 5 miles and that's why I'm tired. That's giving truth to the illusion. It's making the illusion as if it's true. It's making it seem like time is real, like cause and effect is real, like you're vulnerable to worldly effects. Okay, so the choice that you're always making is whether to agree with that. The thought's arising. You don't have a choice in that. That's a thought that's coming, and it's a worldly thought, that's tying however you feel right now to what you did before. Because remember, there isn't any past. Nothing happened before. Nothing happened. Nothing's happening now. It's imagination playing out. So this is giving reality to an illusion when you just agree with a random passing thought like that, or the thought of whether this food is good for me, or a thought like someone took advantage of me, or someone can take advantage of me, or someone is taking advantage of them. Okay, anything like that. And most of the thoughts that occur to you are worldly thoughts. Most of the thoughts that occur to you are just occurring to you to uphold the illusion, to make the illusion seem true. So basically, it's supporting that self-belief that says you're a separate self, that you're separate from reality. And in being separate from reality, then you're vulnerable to worldly effects. You're vulnerable to things like, say, GMO, or maybe you see smog in the air and you think that you're actually vulnerable to that. And, you know, the thought itself is not a problem. Aloha, Christine. The thought is that what's making a problem for you, and that is extending time and making illusions true. So making illusions of suffering, what's making a problem for you is agreeing with those thoughts over and over again. And, you know, I've heard it called an unconscious choice, because people don't realize they're making that choice. People don't realize that they're making that choice. But look, I'm here to tell you that you know you're making the choice. You just don't want to know. So you've got defensiveness built up about it. So you don't want to know that you're actually making a choice to make illusions true. Another example is that person stole from me. You know, one person was telling me about this guy who stole from her, and she wants to go around and tell everyone that he stole from her. So the thing is, you know, there's this idea like if he just gets away with it, then he's going to keep on stealing. And see, that's how the ego works. That's how the ego works. But when you're going around telling people, it doesn't really matter that you're telling people, because they're all you're teaching your own mind. You're basically teaching your own mind that you are a separate self and you're vulnerable to someone stealing from you. See, you may have the perception, you may have had the perception that someone did steal from you. You may have that perception, but it's up to you to recognize that nothing happened. It's up to you to admit that nothing happened. And, you know, it just takes a little bit of willingness. You know, if you can't admit that nothing happened because it seems so real to you that someone did this to you, someone stole from you, for instance, or, you know, like my friend Margaret was saying, you know, her kids don't clean up. So it's like they want her to be their maid, you know, and it seems so real. It seems so real in the moment, like it's right here in front of you. And it just takes the choice that the choice that you have, and the choice that you always have, is between agreeing with the thought or recognizing what's true. And to recognize what's true, it just takes a little bit of willingness. So it might be like, I must be mistaken. For one thing, agreeing with an illusory thought makes you feel upset, makes you feel small, it makes you feel vulnerable. So if you pay attention to your feelings, you're going to know that you have to be mistaken. If you pay attention to your feelings and you feel anything other than completely open and joyful, open to the experience and joyful, you must be mistaken. And you are mistaken. You're following a mistaken belief. I'm not saying that you can make a mistake. You can't. You cannot make a mistake in the world. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you have been following a certain belief that's making you take yourself to be something that you're not, and it's making you use illusions. And I'm saying making you loosely, because you're choosing this. You're choosing to use illusions to make you into something you're not, because you're afraid. Underneath this, you're afraid because you think that you're guilty for having separated yourself from reality. And in thinking you're guilty for having separated yourself from reality, you really believe that you deserve punishment. And so this world is a substitute for that. It's like you're running away from this punishment, which is basically what you think it is, what you believe it is punishment by death, certain death. And so in making this world, you can run from it for a little while until you get an apparent death. You get an apparent death that's always taken to be real. You hear people crying about, oh, I lost this person. You know, people, oh, I lost this person. This person died, and now it's a loss. People go, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And the thing is, no one actually dies. It's impossible for any death to happen. Death occurs to us because we want it to, because we want a place to run and hide. And see, the thing is, we get an apparent death, and then we get another apparent rebirth. And so that keeps on going in a cycle like that. And that's supposedly better than certain death, which you think you're deserving of, but that's where the mistake is. You haven't separated yourself from reality. You have not separated yourself from reality. That's impossible to separate yourself from reality. You just thought you did. You thought you separated yourself from reality. You got the idea that you did, and you forgot to laugh. Okay? So out of that, you needed to make a substitute for that. You needed to make a substitute. Not only did you need to make a substitute, but you needed to make a physical reality where this thought that you separated yourself could be demonstrated so that you can undo it. And that's where the fun comes in. That's where the fun of it all comes in. When you recognize that you don't have free will like that. You have freedom of choice. Freedom of choice, but not free will. And you recognize that, that's where the fun comes in. Because then this illusion, what's occurring on the surface, can play out any way. You're still always free to be yourself. You're still always free to make that choice that serves you and everyone else at the same time, who's actually you, and is undoing that self-belief. And as that self-belief is getting undone, you know, you get to have all of the fun. You get to have more and more fun. Things get more and more joyful for you because there's not this fear of what's going to happen to me. Oh my God, what's going to come of me? Oh, I need to protect myself so I don't get, run over by people, and let people take advantage of me. In fact, we were talking yesterday, one of the most dangerous thoughts there is, one of the most dangerous thoughts is that I can be taken advantage of. Or I've been taken advantage of. Now there's where your choice is. That's where your choice is. It's just a matter of looking at that thought with your guidance, with your good guide, you could say. With your good guide. It's like, is that really true? Is that really true? Let me see it differently. I must be mistaken because that doesn't feel good. To think that I've been taken advantage of.
Well, that's self-importance.
That really doesn't feel good. For example, like, oh, sure. Oh, yeah, you must be important if you can be taken advantage of. Okay, so I got a question from Gabriella now. So us separating from love had to happen for humanity to exist. Okay. It hasn't happened. That's the thing. It has not happened. There's a belief that it happens. There's a belief that there's separation from love. There's a belief that there's been a separation from love. And what's synonymous with love is also eternal life. Okay? Eternal life is the same thing as love. And so in believing that there's been a separation from love, eternal life, it seems like all you got now is death. All you can have now is death. So there's this setup to make a whole universe where we can run from death. It's like God wants to punish us. There's this idea like God wants to punish us because we separated ourselves. That's the ridiculous idea, really ridiculous idea. We have not separated ourselves. No one's separated. We're having a dream of separation. We're not waking up from the dream of separation because we don't want to wake up because we're still very fearful. That thought, we have built so much defensiveness around it. The thought was going on and on, in the concept of time, for a very long time before the universe was even made manifest. And then the universe been made manifest for also a really long time. I'm speaking of in terms of time to help with understanding, because it's really just one moment unfolding where this thought's playing over and over again and building up and making sort of like grooves in the mind, habits of thought, because it's just like, oh, that happened. It's like, and there is not the sight to see that it didn't really happen. No, it actually didn't really happen. But when there's this fear, big fear comes in, all of these veils have gone up. So, yeah, humanity has an apparent existence because of the belief that we separated ourselves from love. Because of that belief. And in that belief, we have to protect ourselves. Look at all the beliefs that are the worldly beliefs there are. You have to earn money is one worldly belief. And let me just say, none of these things that I'm saying are actually true, but these are just the worldly beliefs. And we can undo them. We actually will undo them. That's inevitable. It's just a matter of when will we choose? When will we choose the truth? And, you know, it could go on forever. Forever is still not eternity, but I'm saying forever because it's like so many lifetimes. It's unfathomable to think of it. It's like it could feel like forever, even though time doesn't exist at all. But we have to be willing to make a choice. It's once we're willing to make a choice, then we're shortening time. And we're shortening the time it takes for this illusion to be undone and for us to finally not need the dream because we don't want it anymore, because we realize we don't need something to substitute for reality. So I think that answered the question about free will. And I know that question comes up again and again, and that's fine. I'll answer it again and again. The answer is different every time anyways.
But it was so good. I mean, wow. That was very well articulated. Wow.
Yay. Thank you for making it that way.
I definitely am very, very happy that came through you today.
Me too. Thank you for the question, Mary. My friend, Mary Olive on Love. That's her name. Mary Olive on Love. And now we have Gabriella looking to join the party here. Gabriella, aloha. You're on. You have to unmute yourself, and then let me know if you want to come on camera. Okay. Bob told me you look good on Zoom. Yeah, Bob. Thanks. Thanks. All right. What if we can feel others' feelings, not our own? Why? Okay, that's a really good question. I've said before, there's no other. There's no other like that. You could say we feel each other as in we're interpreting energy. We're making interpretations of energy. So we're really feeling ourselves. We're really only feeling ourselves. We're all feeling our own energy field. Okay, when we're dancing with so-called others, we're really only dancing with ourselves. We can only feel what arises in our energy field, and we're only responsible for what arises in our energy field. So when we have the perception that we're feeling other people, we're feeling other people's feelings, that's our projection. We are not interpreting them as they are. That's part of dreaming. You're not interpreting them as they are. We're interpreting them according to our mistaken self-belief about who we are. So we're not really feeling other people like that. We're feeling our own reaction to what we're making of other people. We're making them up. It comes back down to, I'm making this up. And that's why someone told me the other day when I made a post about persecution, I said, let's see, feeling persecuted comes from secretly projecting thoughts of persecution. And my friend said, well, yes, but there's not really much we could do about it when another person feels persecuted. And I thought about that for a second, or I reflected on it for a minute, and I go, oh yeah, there is something we can, quote, do about it. And that's have compassion for whatever feeling is arising within us for having that perception. Like if I'm having a perception of you feeling persecuted, and maybe you're feeling like I persecuted you, the ego is going to say, oh, well, there's not much I could do about that. Well, I could have compassion for whatever feeling reaction is arising within me, is arising in my energy field. And that's a lot, because that person who's feeling persecuted by me is me. And when I'm having compassion for my own feelings, I'm demonstrating compassion. I'm demonstrating that. I can't help it. That's what's being taught. That's what's being taught, and that's what's being learned. That's a lot. That's a lot. They can still choose, because that is the choice that they have. They can still choose to rely on illusions and say, I'm persecuted, I'm persecuted, I'm persecuted. But the gift doesn't go unreceived. That gift of demonstrating how to be in compassion with your own feelings, that doesn't go unreceived, because that's extended. So even if in the moment they want to keep on choosing to make this illusion true that they're being persecuted, they're going to be able to kind of unwrap that gift as soon as they're ready, So it's not like there's nothing you can do. And you know that you've practiced well, let's say, because you get to feel really good about it all, because you actually feel the effects of that gift being received, whether or not they're presenting an image to you of, I'm happy with you now. In fact, something that came up yesterday a lot was let's not look to the illusion. Don't look to the illusion for any proof, because the illusion's not going to give you any proof. It's only going to prove to you that illusions are true. That's what the illusion is for. You might see over time, it might take some time, you might see some effects on the surface, but don't look there for your effects. Don't look there for your effects. The effects that you get is that great comfort within yourself, that such that it doesn't really matter what the illusion is presenting to you, not even if someone else is holding you out to be their persecutor. Even if someone in your experience, say it's your partner, holding you out as if you're persecuting them. And you could still feel completely at peace with that. It's just a matter of continuously choosing to get the feeling effect, of having that perception of someone, in your perception, demonstrating to you that they feel persecuted by you. See? And then that doesn't make you defensive. That doesn't make you putting it up a wall. It's more like, okay, I understand. And you do understand, because you're getting the feeling effect. You're feeling them, so to speak, but you're really feeling yourself, because they're not there like that. What they're presenting to you is a gift to you, and it really is you. See?
Yeah, so every day is Christmas. You wake up and it's like presents, gifts all day long, that you get to have fun and open up and unwrap, that helps you unwrap your feelings so that you can get in touch with your feelings, negative feelings that need to be healed, so that you can go forward to have more joy, more fun. It's all about laughter, joy, and fun. It seems to be the great wealth of the human experience. It's like there's the laughter. It comes from a creative tension. They say laughter is an orgasm due to the intercourse of reason and unreason. So there's like comedy and tragedy. The guy slips on the banana peel and he falls. Well, he could have broke his neck, but you laugh because it's that fine line between comedy and tragedy. So laughing and crying, they say it's the same release, that it's a release of creative tension, that is like a fireworks, an orgasm of laughter, of gaiety, of merriment. And that's the ultimate sanity. I've realized laughter is the ultimate sanity, that you have to be able to laugh at it. Otherwise, you're not in sanity.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically, if you're not feeling the presence of joy, that's where your work comes in. But, watch the word work too, because it needs to be very playful. There's no getting it wrong. There's absolutely no getting it wrong. It's just a matter of you're noticing what choice is being made. You're noticing what choice is being made. The choice between the two things, truth and illusions. You're just noticing that. And as you're noticing that, you're seeing what is motivating you to keep on choosing to make this illusion true? And as you see that, and your mind learns from that, because you go down these trajectories, and it always leads to more suffering. So it's just an alertness, and it's not like you can ever get it wrong. So, it's really important to also allow forgiveness, the kind of forgiveness, not like, okay, you did it wrong, you're going to do it better next time. The kind of that's like nothing happened. Nothing actually happened. There's just a learning in a dream taking place. Learning in a dream. That's all. Nothing's happening. So and in that, you keep on getting uplifted. You become upliftable, basically. You keep on getting uplifted because it's revealed to you that you're not anything that could be held guilty or accountable or anything like that for anything that occurs in the world, in your mind, anywhere. You just can't get it wrong. Okay? All right, here's another. Okay, this is looks like it might be from Christine. I was feeling into the word contentment today. Is this a trap of my mind? It did feel very still. It was the word and I were in harmony. Yeah, well, here's the thing. You are always being guided. You're constantly being guided. So don't worry about anything being able to trap you like that. Let the guidance in the moment guide you. Then there's two guides in the mind. Let's go over this again because it's a big one. There's two guides in the mind. One's the ego, one's your spirit. Okay? The ego guide is always for protecting this image that it's made. It's like protective. Okay? That's why it looks like it looks like you have to follow the ego's guidance. Otherwise, you're not going to do it right. You're just going to lose in the world. It looks like you have to go that way. And then the spirit's guidance, it's like a still small voice, and it feels like a comfort that doesn't have anything to do with the world, though. It's like this tiny voice telling you you're beyond the world. You're beyond the world. It's like a thread. I've heard it described as a thread of bliss. This is in your mind alongside the ego. It did feel like comfort. Yes. Okay, so but it's a comfort that's beyond the world. See, a lot of people are taking comfort in the idea that they're going to get what they want in the world. That's not the kind of comfort, because it always has an opposite to it. It always has an opposite to it. The comfort of the spirit, the comfort the spirit is offering you is that you are beyond the world. You are beyond the world. And whatever occurs in the world does not ever touch you. So that choice to be just a little bit willing, it's almost like leaning toward the spirit's guidance. And here's one thing that helps you with that. Everything is a benefit. Okay? You never get it wrong. You never get it wrong. Even if you go into what I was speaking earlier, a dangerous thought. I called it a dangerous thought. The thought that someone can take advantage of you, that you could be taken advantage of. If you believe in that thought, it's a dangerous thought. You know how you know? Because it feels worse and worse and worse and worse. But you cannot be guided wrong. You cannot be guided wrongly, because in that learning that it feels worse and worse and worse and worse, you're learning. And, eventually it may take a really long time if you don't want to learn. If you're stubborn about it, you don't want to learn. It may take a really long time, but eventually it's bringing you back to the recognition that you're not something that can be harmed like that. So, don't worry about if you're getting into a trap with words, because the words aren't meaning anything. In fact, everything that I'm saying here is completely meaningless. What's being communicated is something else, something that's beyond the words. And it's the same thing when you're looking at, okay, you have two guides in your mind. Which thought feels better? Which thought feels better? There's options. There's always options. You get to decide which thought feels better. You're not going to get it wrong. And, you know, I'm here to remind you that you don't have to go with the more fearful one. You don't have to go with the one that feels more constrictive, because what the ego is saying is that that's the thought you need to go with, the one that's more constrictive, because that's the one that's going to save you. You would never go with the ego's thought unless you were under the impression that thought was a benefit to you. So the only reason you're finding yourself making the choice for the ego thought is out of fear of what's going to happen to you. So basically, I'm reminding you that there's nothing that can hurt you, and you're totally free to choose the one that's more relaxing, your sense of relaxation, openness. Oh, here's a for instance, just popped into my mind. The one about feeling like my kids should clean up after themselves. Okay? My kids should clean up after themselves. The thought occurs to me, my kids should be cleaning up after themselves. When that thought occurs to me, it doesn't feel good. It does not feel good. I have a choice right there whether I believe the thought. Do I agree with the thought that my kids should be cleaning up with after themselves? Do I agree with that thought right now? That's my choice. Do I agree with that? Or will I accept a new interpretation? Will I accept another interpretation? Where can I get the relief? Will I get the relief from following a thought that said my kid should clean up? Will I get the relief from from following a thought that says people who litter should clean up their litter? Will I get relief from following a thought that says that the GMOs are going to kill us? See, there's where you have a choice. It's just like leaning in, a little bit of willingness. Will I get relief from following a thought that I'm getting trapped by a thought? You're not anything that can get trapped by a thought, because right now you have a choice. You're totally free. You're totally free. I just felt like everything was okay. Yeah, that is definitely not a trap, but the ego would tell you that that is a trap. That's a trap. In fact, the ego will tell you you're going crazy if you just think everything's okay. People will tell you you're going crazy, yep. And that's you propping them up. You're propping them up to tell you that. There's nothing wrong with those people. The best response to that is, oh, okay, thank you for letting me know. Because that's your voice saying you're not going to be okay. You don't have to argue with them. That's following the ego again and start arguing with them. What are you saying? I know everything is okay. You know, a lot of times people will just come up to me and say, you know what, I've heard your videos and I've seen your Facebook posts and you're wrong. You're just wrong. They'll be like that. And I'll be like, oh, thanks for letting me know. You know, what else is there? There's not, and then there's not anything, there's nothing, nowhere to go with that. I don't have an argument with that. I don't have an argument. I know that one. I know that one. I'm familiar with that
Nothing
one.
You say is true.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally, you know, you got it wrong. And I had one friend that told me, very sincere about it too. He's like, you know what, you're going to find out. You're going to find out, Hope, that you're wrong, that this world is real. And, you know, you're going to learn a lot. And I go, okay. And you know what's really awesome about that? What's learning about that isn't me. That's the thing. Before that. I'm still before that. Even if I get that lesson that I've been wrong, I'm still before that. So, and he's like, oh, that much freedom. And I was like, yes, that much freedom. That much. That's right. There's just nothing there because it's a present moment. So there's nothing to get wrapped up in. There's nothing. I might have the perception of myself, say, feeling hurried or rushed. And maybe I have the perception of myself actually hurrying around and rushing around. That's okay. That's occurring to me. That's not happening to me. There's a big difference. And in that, as there's the perception of myself feeling rushed and rushing around, you know, the learning is taking place. whatever the mind needs to learn is taking place. And that's the whole reason for the illusion, is that learning can take place. It's going to take place a lot faster when you make the choice for recognizing who you are in it. Okay? So I think we covered that. And
I had a
oh yeah, go ahead, Lori.
I had a thing happen with my son, and through what you just said, I see what. Okay, so we went to a family reunion this weekend, and my granddaughter, who's 10, last year we had picked out a bikini for her. She wore it here. It was no big deal. Well, at the reunion, we all took a picture. My son didn't go, and so everybody was dressed. It was mostly adults, and the 2 kids. There was a boy and my granddaughter, and my granddaughter was the only one that had her belly showing. So my son saw the picture, which was only in our group, a family group. It wasn't on the Facebook page. It wasn't anywhere. It was just on the group, the family. Like, I don't see why my daughter has to be dressed in barely anything, almost naked, he says. And I'm like, what? Okay. So apparently I've projected this. I needed to get that feeling. But it was automatic defense. Instead of saying, okay, thank you, I went into, don't be shaming her at age 10 about her body. There was nothing wrong. He says people are stalking. People stalking 10-year-olds. It's a thing. Child porn on the internet. I'm like.
So basically, you opened up a can of whoop ass on yourself.
I did. I totally did.
Yeah, and you could see why you projected him like that, because even your reaction when you're just bringing it up right now, you know, your reaction to it is like it's a big deal. And that's the whole thing. That's the way the ego plays. It's to make whatever they're saying into a big deal, you know. And that's how you know you're projecting, you know, because you see like this big deal thought come up. And so that's where, you know, you turn your attention into your body's energy field, because it's from that energy field that this is being projected. His words, whatever he's writing online or however it's coming to you, it's being projected from a feeling in your body. So when you're willing to get that feeling sensation, you're going to see this all mellow out, and then there's just no reaction to it. See?
Yeah, there was definitely defense, but I didn't see it until after.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and see that there's no I like that. There's no I like that, because there's no past. The only choice is right now, this moment unfolding. So one thing that I see with going on with you, Lori, is there is an association with this person who could have made a better choice in the past. And that's the tricky part. It's like you always have a choice, but you don't have a choice in the past. You don't have a choice in the past. So it still comes down to right now. So right now, when you're getting a load of this scenario having played out before, it's being projected from right now, right? And you're getting a feeling right now. So that's where you turn the attention in, and don't go with guilting yourself right now. And you know, guilting yourself could be so subtle. Guilting yourself could just be like I didn't make the right choice, or I'm gonna make the right choice next time. That's making it as if something actually happened and nothing happened. It's just learning. Every time you're making it as if something happened, it's holding you, because it's like you're moving in grooves in the mind. With thought, you're moving into grooves, deepening this habit pattern of basically getting the perception of Lori fucking it up.
Right. Yep. I could do it wrong.
Yes. Yes, you get compassion for yourself right now for even having that perception that happened, because that did not happen.
Right, and then she makes the big deal about it. So something like that, you don't want to dwell on it or give it any power. You just want to dismiss it. You just want to, say, okay, thank you, and just go on, because to get all mired up in it, it's like the woman that felt taken advantage of. The boyfriend stole from her. Well, then she's letting him get away with that and everything. But what she really needs to do is just dismiss the whole thing. Who wants to get embroiled in that kind of a entanglement, with someone? Just let it go, release, let it pass, and move on to what you want to experience, and the joy and the love, instead of dwelling on everyone's mistakes and errors and ignorance and selfishness.
And here's the thing too, you cannot let it go. You cannot let it go on your own. You cannot let it go on your own. That's the choice that is made right now. That's the choice that it made. You could only follow guidance. You can follow the guidance of the ego, or you can follow the guidance of the spirit. Letting it go is kind of like a movement of grace. You don't have you can't do it. That's why people will say, let it go, or you might have self-talk for yourself. Let it go. Come on, Lori, let it go. Why don't you just let it go? Why are you just like pursuing this thing and pursuing it and pursuing it? You're not at that level. You're not really at that level. So it's like a little bit of willingness. And what I mean is, you're not at that level. You're not the one running in thought. You're not the one running in thought. You're just making a choice right now. You're just making a choice right now to associate as that one that's running in thought. So that's what makes the running in thought, the unletting go, let's say, into a problem. The not letting go is not a problem when you're willing to accept the guidance. That running in thought, doing that thing in thought, it's not you. It's not even you in the first place. So, you'll hear people say, let it go. And it's like, what's wrong with me? I can't let it go. It's just that you're associating with something that's holding on to it. You're not that thing that's holding on to it, because there's no time like that. That's a show playing out. You're only making a choice to associate as that one that's hanging on, or you're willing to have a new interpretation. You're willing to have a new interpretation. So it's kind of like a stepping back from it, not trying to do anything, not trying to let go. It's like knowing that you just have this choice. Who is your guide right now? Who is your guide? Is it ego or is it spirit? I know these are a lot of words, but what I'm communicating with you is beneath the words, and it's going to penetrate. It is penetrating. You can even say it already has penetrated your consciousness. And it's just a matter of when, in the illusion of time, you're willing to take it. When you're willing to take it.
I'm willing.
You're not that one speaking right now saying you're willing. It comes from before that. It's kind of like underneath that, okay? That one that's speaking and saying you're willing, and you hear the whininess too. That's right. How you know that's the ego.
That's how I know it's ego. It's not.
So and you can even hear this in your mind. You don't even have to have it come out with your voice. You can hear it in your mind. You can hear the whiny, come on. That's the ego. And you have a choice whether to associate as that one or ask for another interpretation. You might ask, who am I? The question doesn't really matter. It's that it comes from your heart. It comes from your heart, okay? So let's move on a little bit, because I got a shitload of questions here. All right. I see Connor. I see you. I want to move to Gabriella now because she has something big. Connor, I'm going to come back to you. I see that up there, okay? As I open up to everything you say, I feel fear come up and an identity saying, no, like my world is shattering. Good. That's good. That's really good. That's really awesome. It's like that's saying you're on the right track. You're on the right track. If you're listening to me and you're feeling into this and something's opening up for you and you're feeling really afraid, great. That says you're on the right track. Okay. For a lot of people, when they start feeling that fear come up, they're like, fuck this. I'm turning this off. I don't even want to listen to her. I don't even want to look at her face. Okay. That's fine too. That's good too. That's, you know, that's a track that people are on. But if you're hearing that no, like your world is shattering and you're still listening, awesome. That's awesome. That is, you could say it's a breakthrough. It's already a breakthrough. It's a benefit. Okay. That's where you like it to go. When you're in, I am willing, you're not getting that fear yet. You're not really getting that fear like it's breaking down, because that I am willing voice is actually identifying with that, not the voice itself. The voice itself is completely neutral. It's identifying with it. It's taking it as if that's you. That's actually you talking, you know. Take one step back from that. Okay, there's a thought that says, okay, it's between truth and illusion, but for how long? Then the body dies, and do I reincarnate? Well, you know, in the illusion of time, it could be very short or it could be very long. The thing is, as you are choosing truth over illusion, you're going to come to see that it doesn't matter how long it lasts. It really doesn't matter how long it lasts, because in the scope of things, it's thing. It never happened. It never happened. Once this dream is shown for what it is and it completely collapses, there's not even going to be a memory of it. There's not even going to be a memory of it. In fact, there's not even a memory of it. The greater part of you could say that what's experiencing this dream world is a projected. It's like your mind projected, your pure, pristine, in eternity mind projected as a separate self in a dream, projected to outside of the mind. It does not matter how long it takes. It does not matter to you whether you get the illusion of your body dying and you getting another lifetime, another reincarnation. It does not matter to you. And you'll start to see more and more how this is true. As you are willing to choose truth over the illusion, you will not mind. And the less you mind how long it's funny part, the shorter it takes. Okay? All right. Does it ever end? Yes, it definitely ends. It ends because it never began. It definitely ends. And the only reason it's set up is to heal that guilty self-belief. Once the guilty self-belief is healed, you're right back where you always were in eternity. It's like waking up from a dream. It's like waking up from a nightmare, so to speak. You know, and when people get the death experience, that's also like waking up from a nightmare. But it's not as much. It's not as much as when the whole guilty self-belief is gone. See, that is also like waking up from a nightmare, because there's not this density of form. So it's like, oh, thank goodness that was just a dream. But guess what? I still believe that I separated myself from reality. I still am holding that belief in what, let's call it the death realm, which, you know, I like to call it that just to give it something. But that really doesn't point to what it is, because there's no dying, but it's basically unembodied, let's say. In that realm, everything feels a lot lighter, and it is like waking up from a dream, but ultimately it's waking up from the whole thing, that whole cycle of being embodied and in like a holding place that's way it's way lighter than this realm. But the guilty belief causes you to project again, because that guilty belief says that if you try to return to reality, you're going to die. You're just going to die. So you have to project a world, a universe again and again, so that can get undone. Is there a beginning and an end? No, not really. It's not really like that, because it's all being projected right now. It's all being projected right now. We have the sense of a beginning of an end because we're into making it seem like there's a timeline, and that's how we can conceive of the dream world. But yeah, it doesn't really have a beginning or an end. The way I heard it put by one of my favorite yoga teachers, he said, at any moment we can turn a corner and find ourselves in the world of light. Okay, any moment. Okay, it's just this idea that it can be forever that keeps making it feel like forever. And the more you recognize that, oh yeah, any moment this could just disintegrate. And that's how it's going to be. It's just going to disintegrate. It's just going to be like revealing what's really here. Because what we're seeing is not what's really here. It's projection. It feels so overwhelming. I know it does. I know. It feels so overwhelming. And that feeling of overwhelm is just the ego flaring up. I know when you're first getting started, when you get into this a little bit, it starts to feel really overwhelming. People tell me it feels tiring. They need to sleep a lot. It's okay. It's okay. That's the ego flaring up and saying, no, don't go there. Don't look there. Stay here. Stay here. You know, how about if you just start, I don't know, drinking a lot of alcohol and maybe thinking about suicide, you know? It's like, don't go there. Don't go to all those overwhelming. Yes, I know. When we dream, where does consciousness go? It's basically the same thing. When you have a nighttime dream or a daytime dream, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's just playing out the self-beliefs. You'll even start to see in your dream time, as you're undoing the illusion, you're undoing this belief. You're actually, you know, you're undoing this belief as you're choosing truth more and more. And you really have to choose truth. I mean, when you're first starting out, it's so difficult. It's so difficult for people when they're first starting out to start choosing truth. They're so used to choosing illusion. I'm telling you, a half a second is huge. A half a second is huge. Half a second of just, there must be a better way. There must be a better way. You know, when I was a little kid, it was always taught to me that in order to be thin and fit and have a good body, you basically have to eat food you don't like. You basically have to eat food you don't like. And it occurred to me when I was a kid, I bet you can always eat food that you like and still have a fit body. And just in that, there was an energy shift. And that's why, you know, I could still recall that moment, because it was such a shift. It was just like opening up to another way. It's not taking on worldly beliefs and what's being presented to you as if it's true. You know, some of the stuff I talk about sounds so trivial, and that's the way it looks. It looks like it's all so trivial, and it's not. It's not. None of it is. It's all like when you're making that choice between truth and illusion. True, the illusion is totally trivial. But when you're making that choice between truth and illusion, it doesn't matter what it is that you're focused on. That choice is not trivial at all. That's making shifts. It's either making shifts or it's keeping things the same. It's keeping the fear concept going. Okay? So don't worry about it feeling overwhelming. Remember, that's just a feeling. Get that feeling. For a while, I was going through very overwhelming feelings. Very overwhelming feelings, and the guidance that I got that I'm sharing with you now is this is a benefit. This is a benefit right now. As I feel this sense of overwhelm, this is a benefit, okay? Because it's leading somewhere. Let it be. Just let that feeling be, all right? Gabriella, I would like to get to what we were talking about. That was a big one, what we were talking about. You said, okay, is there a video you have more on the topic? Nothing is happening. This is a dream world. We don't ever age. We only eat or sleep because of guilt. Food doesn't have effect on the body. When you say that, do you mean it doesn't affect the body? Here's the big question right here. This is the big question. When you say that, do you mean that it doesn't affect the body because there is no body and this is a dream world, but I still see it all happening? Hi, Sophie. I see your question too. I'll get to it. I got another hour to go, so we'll see how this works out. I think I'm going to get to all of those. Connor, Sophia, yeah. Food doesn't have effect on the body. Yeah. It doesn't have an effect on the body. It doesn't have an effect on the body. The way the ego will take that is, oh, I could eat whatever the fuck I want, right? Okay, it doesn't have an effect on the body. I'm going to go get a bunch of powdered donuts, and I'm going to start doing this with them, just munching them down, and then there's a big belly happening. And then there's perceivable effects, okay? Now, the feeling, the sense of guilt, that guilty thought, that guilty self-belief is what's making the illusion look true, is what's making cause and effect seem like they are actually doing something. Now, to the ego, when the ego finds this information out, oh, I'm going to use this information. I'm going to use this information. Now I'm going to show that I'm going to go down this road where I just eat whatever I want and try to use my mind to make it so that I have any effects of it. I'm just going to eat whatever I want, and then I'm going to use my mind. Do you see it? Do you see this? Now we're using the mind to get a different kind of effect in the body. Now we're going to try to get an effect that serves me as a body. I'm going to try to get an effect that serves me. Now I'm just going to eat whatever I want because I know that it's all coming from the mind, and I'll just use a mind trick to make it something. That's the ego. That's the ego playing out. That's not what I mean by that. It really doesn't have an effect. It really actually doesn't have an effect. But because of the guilty self-belief, it's going to show up as if it has an effect, okay? That's how it is. The illusion is showing you that the effect of guilty self-belief. So that's not what I'm saying is to get on board with this ego guidance and say, oh, I'm going to go test this theory out now. I'm going to go test this theory out. What I'm saying is deny the evidence. Keep denying the evidence. And it doesn't mean that you try not to follow the diet advice that you've been taught. You don't try not to follow it. You don't have to try to follow it, and you don't have to try not to follow it because you're not doing anything. This trying anything is what's making the whole thing convoluted. Just watch it play out. All of the choices, remember, you can't make any choice. You do not make choice to pick up the powdered donut or the apple. You're not making a choice in that. You're not really making a choice in that. What you're making a choice in is, who am I in this? And if you're following the ego guidance and saying that I'm this one that can use the mind to get a certain effect for myself as a body, this is imprisoning the mind again. It's imprisoning the mind. And what we're talking about here is getting the mind free. It needs to be the other way around. Not that the body is imprisoned, because the body's not something that can be imprisoned, but in freeing the mind, you're basically using your perception of the body. You can't use your body because there's no body. You're using your perception of the body to free your mind. You're using the perception of a body to free your mind. So when you get the perception that you're having a stomach ache or you're feeling fat or something like that, and the thought occurs to you, it's because of something that happened on the surface, like it's because you ate 50 donuts or something like that. What I'm saying is right there in that moment, deny the evidence. Deny that the illusion actually caused you to feel that way, because both the illusion of you eating the thing and the feeling are both coming from your mind. And they're both coming from a split mind that wants to make illusions true out of fear. Okay? So it's not a matter of, again, imprisoning the mind to try to get the mind to make good illusions for you. It's a matter of using that illusion, using that body illusion to undo this guilty concept. And this is how it plays out. I can give you one that played out for me, and it was just last night. It was so fun. I had the appearance of a yeast infection, and ladies, you know how that is, the burning and everything like that. So there's this burning sensation going on, and there's a thought that I overdid it. Okay, there's a thought that I overdid it, and it's like, oh no, that's not true. I know that's not true. This burning sensation is just projected from the mind right now. And the thought that I overdid it, nothing happened. Nothing happened. There was no overdoing. I don't even have to go and evaluate that or anything. Did I really overdo it or anything like that? It's just a matter of, and I noticed my breath, my breath is, I'm breathing different all of a sudden because this thought is present about maybe I overdid it. Okay, so my breathing changes then. And now there's like a nervousness that, oh my goodness, and it starts to burn more. And there's this nervousness and this upset. And it's like, oh, I know what's going on here. You just notice what's going on. You notice what's going on, and you're willing to see. Okay, let me see. Willing to see. And in that willingness, it becomes perfectly clear that you're projecting the past that says you overdo it or could have overdone it. You don't have to go into evaluating. You don't have to go into reliving. What is it that you did and you didn't listen and you should have done it different and you should have relaxed more or whatever? No, you don't have to go there. You don't have to go there. You don't have to go to this is caused by anything on the surface. Don't worry. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay in that it's not like you need to figure it out so that next time you can do better. There is no next time. There's no future. There's no past and there's no future. There's only this moment. So in that, all of a sudden, it feels better and I fall asleep. I have the experience of it feeling better and I'm falling asleep. What if it doesn't feel better? What if it doesn't feel better? No worries. Don't look to the illusion to show you evidence of what's true. It's never going to. It's never going to. Feeling better and feeling worse, they're both meaningless. They're both meaningless. But the feeling better, you know, the ironic thing is the feeling better side of it is what presents itself more and more as you're willing to accept what's true. Okay? The doctor told me my 6-month-old has a yeast infection. That's wonderful. No wonder I had the occurrence of a yeast infection. That's great. I love it. And told me to get a prescription for her. If this is from my mind, should I not go get the prescription for her? That's a really good question. You actually don't have a choice in that. You do not have a choice. There's not a should in it. There is no should in it. There is no should in it. There isn't. Okay? There isn't a should in it. The appearance of a yeast infection, is coming from the mind. The prescription is also coming from the mind. So I'm not giving you any advice on whether you should get a prescription or not. I'm not going to give you any advice on whether you should do that. You're not going to get that from me. You might get that from someone who's talking to you on a different level. You may get that from me if you come to me and you're talking to me and we're talking on a different level. Oh, what would you do in this situation? That's not what Wisdom Dialogues is for, though. See, that's not what it's for, because it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It actually doesn't. Here's the thing. Here's where it works. Here's where understanding can heal no matter what, is in recognizing that no prescription is going to take away a yeast infection. No prescription is going to take away a yeast infection. But if you find yourself using a prescription to get that appearance, to get the appearance that it's taking away the yeast infection, that's okay. That's okay. It's whatever, you know what? You're going to get the relief through whatever your mind can accept without fear. Whatever your mind can accept without fear. So don't scare yourself. You don't have to scare yourself like that. You don't have to go along with the ego guidance. Well, I'm just not going to get a prescription then. I'm just not going to get there. You never know, though. You may find yourself inspired to say, what other alternatives are there? You may be inspired because it really doesn't matter which magic you use. It's all magic. It's magic in a dream. It really doesn't matter what magic you use. Let yourself to get whatever relief is that feels good to you. Whatever the relief, it's okay. It's okay. You know, you might put something on it. Remember, whatever you seem to be, and look, not really putting anything on it. You're not really putting anything on it. Stay there. You're having a dream of putting something on it. You might find yourself putting something like that. You might find yourself putting something on it. Remind yourself that it's all projected from the mind. It's all projected from a mind. Okay? That's all. It's not a matter of what you should or should not do. And that's the ego again saying, okay, well, I'm just not going to put anything on it. I'm just not gonna, you know, since it's just a projection, it's just going to go away. But the thing is, guilty self-concept is strong, and who knows how it's going to play out. Let it just play out as it does. And look at what's least fearful. Okay, what's least fearful? What's the least fearful for me right now, as far as, you know, using this prescription, or using nothing, using this prescription or using this, because really what it is an energy arising, and your choice is always between guide. Which guide are you following? So you're just, you could just be playing with these ideas, and in playing with these ideas, always recognizing that nothing but the mind is going to present a cure. It's whatever the mind can accept without fear. If the mind can accept an immediate, oh, there's yeast infection, oh, now there's not, without fear, then that's what it will be. Okay, so that's really fun.
Well, doesn't the whole crux of the matter about withdrawing power from the body, that the body has no power for either pain or pleasure, that you're not going after eating a bunch of donuts because you can, or you're not having to be healthy, or the whole idea is the body has no power for health or disease. And so then you've got the dominion. You've handed your power over to your body, whereas your body is like a obedient dog. You know, you let the dog run you around instead of you have the dominion. You're the master of the body. So if you're into, I got to get donuts, and I'm looking for pleasure and gratification through my body, and then I'm afraid because of that I'm going to get sick with my body, and then I'm going to need drugs for my body, then you're just in that's where the ego identifies most, is with the body. And so then you've invested in your body because your ego identifies with it. So you want it to look good. You want it to be sexy. You want it to be healthy. And so then it's just another form of self-importance. My body is so important. Whereas, like you say, it's nothing. It doesn't even exist.
Yes, and you don't need to focus on the surface. Like if you find yourself, say, craving donuts, so to speak, or you're craving donuts, or you find yourself buying a prescription to put on a yeast infection, either way, that's not a problem, because that's a play on the surface. That's just a play on the surface of things. Now remember that there's levels. There's two levels here. There's the manifestation. That's the play on the surface of things. That has to do with all the thought projections. Should I go and get some yeast infection medication? Should I go and get donuts? That's just the play on the surface. You take a step back from all of that and let that play out however it does. You're not going to get it wrong. You're never going to get it wrong. What's going to get it wrong is you trusting in these things. You trusting in these things. You trusting in the donuts as if they can make you fat. You're trusting in the donuts as if they can make you feel bad. You're trusting in the ego's guidance that says, I'm going to use my mind to make it so that these donuts don't feel bad. You know, it's like trusting in these things. It's like you're not using these things as anything but to undo this hook that gets you into being a separate self. So just letting these things play out as they do, and recognizing that you don't have a choice. Don't try to make a choice. See, if you're saying, oh, I just won't get the prescription, should I just not get the prescription then? You're asking, should I make a choice? You know, should I be a chooser? There's nothing like that. You're going to find yourself doing whatever you find yourself doing. Okay, so I'm going to Connor now. I am having a hard time completely grasping and implementing this dream state way of living and understanding. Well, that's understandable. I was wondering if you have any beginner tips to help me start to notice and gently remind myself it's all an illusion. Okay, yeah. And this is something that occurred to me really spontaneously. I didn't even realize that there was a dream yet. It's just that I noticed that myself clenching. So start to notice in your body, anywhere in your body, any kind of clenching. For me, the very first thing that I noticed was my toes. My toes were gripping. And I'd find myself in a thought pattern and also in a breath pattern. A breath pattern is kind of like a constricted breath pattern. I don't feel open. So it's like you're making what some people have done, and I didn't find myself doing this myself, but I've heard of people doing, is like tying something maybe to their finger. I've heard of people getting a tattoo. I might have a friend who got a tattoo right here that says I am, and she remembers to look at that tattoo, and that helps her to tune into what's going on. Because if you start to look at your body as a symbolic of what you're thinking, okay? For instance, the FBI is really trained to look at people's bodily expressions as a symbol for what they're thinking. And so you can be like the FBI in that way, where you're looking at the way your body is, maybe, this means something when you scratch yourself like this. I'm not sure exactly what it means right now, but it might be something like to make you feel better or release some tension. So that's the way, like, your body will just like scratch yourself. I had a friend a couple weeks ago, maybe in Wisdom Dialogues, where I said something and immediately he scratched his neck like that. I'm like, I see you scratching your neck. And he's like, what? My neck itches. And I go, no, even an itch, okay? It's something, it's projected from the mind. So watch. What are you doing with your fingers? Are you going like this? Are you going like this? Just be very watchful, because this is symbolic of you being nervous, some nervousness. So you get very watchful and you get open to seeing what's going on here. You're going to start to get through that more advanced to where you're seeing actually what thought patterns you're following, consciously. I almost said unconsciously, because that's the way we're used to looking at it, is it's unconscious, but it's actually really conscious, because it's a conscious desire to run from death, to try to run away from death. It's actually very conscious. I have found myself going like this, wringing my hands, and in that. Just recognizing that that's occurring, right? And that's symbolic of something. It turns your attention in just for a second. It turns your attention away from something. Another one that's been very helpful and still proves to be very helpful is essential oils for me. I know that's not for everyone. And I do happen to have an essential oil business too, with really good essential oils. If you're interested in that, I would recommend that as something too, because when you take an aroma that's really strong, like an essential oil like that, it could be anything. It doesn't, not like you need essential oils. I'm not saying that, but that something that's really, it's a powerful, potent aroma like that. And you're like I would find myself in, I would say at that time, I'm feeling unloving. I'm feeling unloving toward myself. And I'd get, or toward anyone means toward myself, by the way. And I'd get any bottle of essential oil. And as soon as I'd smell it, whatever thought I was on would be lifted, even if for an instant, because that's all it takes. It's just an instant, to get that sense of relief. All right. So those are some tips for you. If you have any more questions or want to follow up on that, let me know. I love you. Thank you. And let's see. Where are we? Sophia, my love. Question about getting the feeling effect. I find some sort of waiting for results, looking for some sort of confirmation that it works and that I'm doing it right. So when the feeling doesn't change, does that mean that it's not done? Is there a done? Okay, so that's where patience comes in. I often find myself saying, be patient, but don't wait. Don't wait. Be patient. And that's patience with yourself, as in, the thought that doesn't it change? That's also projected from a feeling. See? That thought, does it ever change? That's projected from a feeling. It's trying to hold it in place. So even when the thought occurs to you, does it ever change? Get the feeling effect of that. That's all. When a feeling is very persistent, coming and going, does this mean there is something blocking? Well, you know, there's a lot of defenses. I said that there's a lot of defenses set up in the mind, and it might take more and more looking. And the ego is really, really sneaky. You know, the ego is really sneaky, and the ego would come up with an idea that something is blocking. And in that something blocking, now there's something to do. There's a block to remove, right? So that, even that thought, is there something blocking? Again, that's the ego. Get the feeling effect of that. Get the feeling effect of that, because even something blocking is a thought. All it could be blocking is another thought. So you keep on turning your eyes in. Every thought that occurs to you is projected from feeling. So you keep on turning back to the feeling. Go back to the feeling of that. Okay, you're recognizing also that you projected that thought. I'm making this up that something's blocking right now. I'm making this up that's saying, is there a done? I'm making this up right now because nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. It's occurring to me because I want it to right now. It's only I'm making this up. I am making this up right now. Step back. Step back from that thought. You know, you're going to get what I mean by step back eventually. You're going to get what I mean. Keep looking in the direction and you're going to get what I mean. Keep listening, keep coming, as long as it feels inspiring to you. You know, if it doesn't feel inspiring to you to listen to me, don't do it. You don't have to make yourself. Leaning in the direction is leaning toward relaxation with whatever it is that seems to be occurring. Leaning toward more relaxation. That's how you're going to find yourself sort of like beneath the illusion is one way of saying it. Another way of saying it is above the illusion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You might get a sense that you're under it. You might get a sense that you're above it. It's basically, it's in your mind. It's projected. Let's say it's projected to outside of your mind. You're before that. That's why I say step back. Step back from it. Because you're not that. You're not that projected part. That this limited mind is a projected mind. You're not that projected part. That's one way of saying the choice that you have is to step back from it. Get off of that. Get off of that. See? Not let it go. Not let it go, because it might keep on going. Let it just keep on, you know, and not let it go as if you're a person that could let something go. Your mind might keep on running. Oh my God, what's going on here? Does this ever get done? Oh my God, this is so overwhelming. This is so shitty. And you're back here laughing. You are actually back here laughing about that. Be there where you are. You have a choice in that. You actually have a choice in that. Okay. One new message way down here. I feel like you're the mom we all wanted to have as children. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I think that's a really good segue for right now. I'm going to see if Tig will cut this up for me and put it on my GoFundMe. I don't know if you guys noticed. I started a GoFundMe. It just all of a sudden came to me to start a GoFundMe for getting this word out, getting this advertised on YouTube, getting it so that I'm meeting with people in groups. I'm meeting with people in groups, maybe traveling, because I know that it's great. Online is great. And then also people just being around me. And getting this information in person is very transformative. I would like to be able to do it without having any kind of fee for it. And that's why I'm asking for people who, you know, have those kinds of resources available to them. I'm asking for it to be shared, the GoFundMe to be shared. I'm going to post it on my Facebook page probably tomorrow morning, so look for it there. Be shared with people who would have the kind of resources physically available to them to make big contributions, so that I'm traveling or people, and or I could also see this being in a space here in Hawaii where people come to me, and they come and they come if they can pay for it, great. If they can't pay for it, the funds are there to bring people in and be around me, and I'm just available for everyone to be around me, and basically be a mother like that for people who are parents, for their children, for people who are not parents. It doesn't matter, because we're all really like parents, and the whole world, everyone who comes to us is really like our child. It's really like our child looking for, basically looking for their innocence. Everyone who we meet, everyone we meet is holding a guilty concept, and they're all coming to us, asking us to show them their innocence. That's all they really want. That's all they really want. They may come to you asking you, saying they want something else, but all they really want is for you to show them their innocence. And as you learn, as you learn that you are that innocence, then that's how it gets extended. That's how it gets extended to everyone. Okay. So I'm going to be posting that. I'm going to be posting that GoFundMe tomorrow in the morning. And if you can contribute anything that helps. If you have groups or people and they can contribute, I'd really appreciate it if you get it out there. I can see that something like this is something that's really transformational and good for everyone, because it is so transformational. Whenever someone gets that sense of relief, that's transforming everything. And what I've been seeing lately is people getting this sense of relief, especially around their kids, around being with their kids. And it's like, and I was like, and I'm going, that feels good, doesn't it? And it's like, so good. But then there's this fearful thought that says, no, and I'd like there to be a sort of like a support, and even a support system as it grows, with different people who have come to a point where they can share like that and help people to get that sense of relaxation. They have that sense of relaxation within themselves, and they can share it. And there's a whole network until eventually that's what the whole world is doing. That's all that's going on. Everyone realizes that we're coming to each other to, for that gift of innocence. And that's all we're doing, is we keep on offering that gift of innocence until the world is no more needed, and we just find ourselves back in reality. Okay. So yeah, I feel really inspired. I've never felt inspired to ask anyone to donate before like that. But it really just came to me like, okay, here it is. Let's go for this. And it actually doesn't matter to me how it turns out, because I know that everything is a benefit. I know that everything is working together for good. And then at the same time, yeah, let's go for it. When you talked about earlier, the ego using a mind trick with food and then having a fat belly, I'm experiencing that right now. Yeah, cool. I see now. I don't have control over what I eat. Good. That is so huge. That is so huge. In fact, when you find yourself doing the overeating thing, it's because you're trying to exercise some control in your mind. You're trying to exercise some control in your mind. It's really symbolic. It's symbolic of you trying to get this full belly so that you can be distracted from things. Okay, that's all. It's just symbolic. That's why you don't have a choice in it. It's just that In fact, when I have found myself, I can't say I find myself in this recently, is just like feeling like I'm overeating, just like eating. I just get really alert. What am I trying to cover up? Because it's in the mind. Now I know it's a distraction. This eating, it's a distraction. It's not really enjoyable. It's like trying to get something. Okay, but what advice can you give me to get to where you are at with your relationship with food? Well, it's always the same. It's always the same. It's always just being alert. And I think I just gave you a clue right there just a second ago. When I found myself eating in a state where, you know, you're like going to the cupboard like, get alert in your mind, get alert. It's all mental. Get alert about what it is that's driving this behavior. What is driving this behavior? It's always something mental. It's not about what you're doing. See, what happens is that the way the ego works this is it comes up with a guilty thing about the eating itself. Like this guilty thing about the eating itself. Or an idea like like, oh, well, it doesn't matter anyways because because nothing matters because eating doesn't affect health. So I could just keep on doing this. It's still a distraction though. You're still using it as a distraction. Okay. So you're watching as you're using it as a distraction. You're just watching, not judging, just watching it play out. And things become known to you. You start to see what you're trying to cover up. You start to see what you're trying to cover up. And then it doesn't matter to you what you find yourself eating or whether you find yourself eating or anything like that. All you want to do is see what it is that's making this action necessary in the first place. Because it's not coming out of joy. You know that. Not coming out of joy. Sometimes there will be a trick like it's coming out of joy, like, oh, these Oreos are so good. Oh, these Oreos are so delicious. This is so joyful. This is so joyful. This is so joyful. Tricky joyful. Tricky joyful. It's tricky. Okay? It's not like it's about the illusion or anything like that, but I can speak from experience on this. That if you're telling yourself, oh yeah, this is so, and you find yourself pounding like a whole row of Oreos or something, you're tricking yourself. You know how you know you tricked yourself? You get a shitty feeling afterwards. So you know you've been tricked. You've been tricking yourself. It's not because of the Oreos. It's because you were tricking yourself and using the Oreos like a magic wand to trick yourself, to cover something up. Okay, here's an example. I was in California a couple years ago, and my husband took off. I was in the house. Not like it was a mad thing or anything like that. He was like, "Hey, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to do this." I forgot what it was at this point. And I was with my younger son, and I all of a sudden felt like, "Hey, maybe I want to go somewhere." And all of a sudden, I felt like I was trapped because now I have this younger son here and no one to watch him. And I felt like I was trapped. And then the next thing I know, I find myself in the cupboard eating some just various things. The next thing you know, I have a terrible upset stomach. And I go, oh no, I know this isn't about what I just ate, even though my mind is telling me that was the wrong combination of food. I forgot what the combination was at this point. But, I have some experience with food combining. So my mind's going to tell me that was just the wrong combination of food. And it's like, oh no, I know that wasn't the wrong combination of food. Nothing happened. I actually didn't eat anything. And so then it was revealed to me because I was hiding it from myself that I was making myself into a victim. I was hiding from myself that I was making myself into a victim. I felt this sense that I was trapped. And I didn't acknowledge it. Instead, I ate some food. So as soon as there was the recognition of what it is that caused the upset stomach's gone. And there's not a sense that there's anything in my belly at all. Now, you might not get that effect right away, but that's like how malleable this illusion is. Basically, that's only set up so you can see what you're using to make yourself vulnerable, to make yourself into a victim. Once you see it, there's no need for the disturbance anymore. There's no need for once it's fully seen, there's no need for this disturbance anymore. So what do I do when the disturbance goes on and on and on? I just keep on, and it's not like it's hard. I can still go about doing my regular stuff, like underneath the surface. There's every time it occurs to me that this problem is there, like an upset stomach, or say the yeast infection is still going on, that this problem is still present. I know that for one thing, knowing that that's not really the problem. The problem is self-belief. And it's knowing that that's not really the problem, and it takes your focus off of that thing as a problem, and you having your focus off of that thing as a problem is kind of what releases the pressure and lets it get healed, you know. So yeah, maybe that'll be helpful to you. You let me know if you have any more questions along those lines.
So if you got that feeling when Tony left, and you felt, if you actually let yourself feel that you felt trapped, then you wouldn't have gone for the food.
Well, yes, if I would have realized that I just made that up. I didn't realize that I didn't, the food, it didn't even taste good to me. It was just habitual.
You weren't really tasting it. It was just filling that.
No, it wasn't. It's filling a void. It was filling a void. That's all. Right. So it's like the more you recognize you're using food to fill a void, I find myself not even having food a lot of the times. The food, food a lot of the time it's like, oh, okay, my husband will make, like last night, my husband made a thing of some raw meat and some butter and stuff like that, and it was like, oh, okay, that's there, and I just ate that stuff, and it's like perfectly satisfying. It's like, oh, like this much food, and it's perfectly satisfying, and then other times I might find myself, oh, it sounds really good to eat this big sandwich, and it's like when I'm having this big sandwich, like one of my favorite sandwiches right now is this, what is it? It's, what is that stuff called? Pastrami on rye with some sauerkraut. This restaurant makes this whole Tin Shack makes this homemade sauerkraut, and when I'm having the sandwich, it's not like the sandwich is being used to feel something. I'm actually tasting it and enjoying every bite and enjoying that. And so it's not like there's some foods that are off limits or anything like that, but it's like a real joyful, but it's not something that I need to do like every certain number of hours or something like that. Mm-hmm. Eating's become so conceptual for people. It's like there's this 3 meal a day thing, and that's so conceptual that this eating just becomes like a habitual thing that's more of a distraction than anything else. It's not really enjoyed. It's not like fully relished. The experience is not like fully relished, like, this is so good, But it's more like just like covering something and using it to covering something up. And so it's not like there's anything right or wrong about that, using it to cover things up. What's being asked for here is your acknowledgement of what's going on, of what you're using it for. What is it for? What is this for? And you'll get the you'll get the symbol of what you used it for by how you're feeling. Like I notice when I'm having this sandwich, this pastrami sandwich, and I've had it a couple times. It just occurred to me, like I've had it 2 times. I saw someone eating it one time, and I was like, wow, that just looks like so enjoyable to me. And then I had it, and I had it the first time and just like had such a beautiful experience with it. It was like nothing was in my belly afterwards. It was like nothing was there.
Really?
Yes. It was like I hadn't eaten anything. And then at the same time, I don't feel like I need to eat again. It's not like I'm hungry. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's not like I need to eat again, like, super soon. It could be super soon. It doesn't matter. That's the thing. But it's like, it's just like, there's not a feeling like, oh, I have to eat, and I'm not obeying hunger. I'm not like obeying hungry, or, oh my goodness, I feel hungry, that means I need to eat. I'm not like finding myself obeying these body impulses. See?
Yeah, well, you're withdrawing power from your body. It's like you don't need to sleep hardly anymore. You don't need to eat. You don't need to follow any dietary or health regimes. It's just like you can just forget about the body.
Yes, I could forget about it. It's not like I don't need to sleep or I do need to sleep. It's not either one. If I find myself sleeping, awesome. If I'm not sleeping, awesome. It's really the same. There's no such thing as insomnia. We made that one up. And then, making up the word insomnia, making that up is to try to project guilt instead of getting the feeling of guilt. It's to try to project it. It's to try to cover it up. This thing called insomnia is like this disease that can get me and I could be a victim to it. See? And that's the cover something up. When there's realizing, oh, there's no insomnia, there's no night, there's no anything like this. I'm just making this idea that I could be a victim to something. Then you're getting the feeling effect of that guilty self-belief. Then you're actually getting the feeling effect of it when you admit to yourself that you're making this up to make yourself into a victim. Then you're getting it. Then you're getting it. And it might be slow. And like I said, be patient, but don't wait. Don't wait, because the time is now. The time is now to recognize what you're making is true, what you're making up as if it's true. Okay?
Yeah, well, your dominion is now, and your dominion is with the truth.
Yeah.
Being a victim of something is not dominion.
That's right. And then you know what? At the same time, that's using your dominion to make yourself into a victim. Everyone has dominion. It's not like I have dominion and other people don't. Everyone has dominion. It's just that the majority of people are using their mind the majority of the time to make it look like they're susceptible to the environment. To themselves. They're demonstrating it to themselves. Now, that's not to say that, if it's not summer and I'm sitting out here and all of a sudden it feels cold, I won't find myself with a jacket on. That's not to say, but it's just that I'm not believing that I'm feeling cold because of the weather. It doesn't matter to me what I find myself doing. It doesn't matter to me. People say, Hope, well, if cold isn't a thing, then why are you putting a jacket on? I'm not. That's an illusion. I'm not putting a jacket on.
You can be like Wim Hof and go sit in the Arctic, ocean all day. It doesn't matter.
And then at the same time, either way, because at the same time, it does not have to manifest like that. It does not have to manifest like that for me to be acknowledging that this feeling of cold is not coming from the weather. This feeling of cold is projected, so I can laugh at myself. I can laugh at myself. This past winter felt like it was the coldest winter in Hawaiian history. In fact, I heard people saying, and I saw memes on Facebook that said, please send help for Hawaii. No, we're not having a disaster. It's just that it's really cold and we don't own pants. Or please pray for Hawaii. We're cold. It went down to 60 during the day. I have to laugh at myself because like all winter I'm getting this effect, like my whole nervous system is seizing up. It's like almost like I'm gonna die. It's like, oh my God. It's like the illusion though isn't true. And what I mean by denying the evidence is just like laughing about it because it's projected from the mind. It doesn't mean I have to try to punish myself and make myself be cold or try to fear myself or anything, or believe that I'm actually putting a jacket on and covering myself up, or that that's actually helping me to feel warm. All that's helping me to feel warm is my mind. All that's helping me feel cold is my mind. What's playing out on the surface is only for demonstrating that guilt is real. That's all it's for. So I'm laughing about that. I'm not trying to change what I do about it because I'm not actually doing anything. If I was trying to change what I do about it, that would be like trying to make the illusion real. In order for me to change what I do about it, first I have to make this real. I'm not doing anything. And neither are you. Oh, here's another question. Sometimes they get all jumbled up. You know what would be really helpful when you're making another question? See if you can make a space in there. I'm not sure if that's even possible, but see if you can make a space in there, because then I can see when something else is occurring. Like it's a new question. I don't even know how that would be done, but I'm just putting that out there. Okay, and then the next one. Are obese people that big because they believe makes them fat, and it's to undo the guilt. Well, okay, the size of the body doesn't really matter. We call it obese. The size of the body doesn't really matter. How do you feel? That's the thing. How do you feel about it? When you have the perception of a person that has extra body fat, let's say the person seems to have extra body fat. How do you feel? That's what it comes to. Because that's your projection. You're not seeing them as they are ever in this illusion. You're not seeing if they see them skinny, fat, perfect body, whatever. It's all based on self-belief. You're projecting these images. So how do you feel? That's all. It does not matter what size the body is or how much space it takes up, because it all comes down to a feeling. That's just to make you get prejudice. Okay, seeing bodies different sizes, seeing maybe some extra fat or not enough fat and stuff like that. That's just to make prejudice arise. It all comes down to a feeling. How do you feel?
Because they're not even real.
What's that?
They're not even real.
No, that's not real. The body isn't real.
Yeah.
The size, the different sizes, the differences and all that stuff, that's just for making it look like guilt is real. So you never have to project for those people. What are those people doing? Let them deal with their own salvation, and you take care of your salvation. So when the perception arises to you, even the word obese is a guilty connotation. It's a guilty connotation. Okay. And it's to make you kind of like recoil, like reject that. No, I don't want that. And, you see it in the society, you even see it, on the news, they report, oh, now these many people are obese. Yes, it's symbolic of guilt that we're seeing this idea, that we're seeing a person that we're able to call obese and they look unhealthy. Yes, it's symbolic of guilt. And so is a healthy body. They're both meaningless. They're both meaningless. They're both to give you contrast. Okay, you see the obesity obesity thing on the rise. I think that's what I saw on the news, that there's those obesity epidemic. It's on the rise, and you know what that's for? That's for to make people to make people upset. Was you say we're projecting it to make ourselves upset, to try to avoid obesity, so that it seems really hard to keep a thin and fit body. When here's the thing. Your mind knows. Your mind already knows that what you want, the body that you want, even from the ego's perspective, your mind already knows what you want. Let's say, even in the illusion, your mind knows before you know. Before you know you want to be thin and fit. Your mind knows because it's projected from your mind. See? Okay? So as you release tension, you're going to find yourself having an easier time of being that, whatever it is that you think you want. You're going to have an easier time of being that, because what you think you want is projected from your mind before you even think you want it. It's a projection. See? It's just a projection. It's already, yes, wants to feel good in their body. Everyone, and for different people, it could be a different size. I've heard of people who feel good being a big size, maybe so big that people would call that obese. Okay? And there's no problem with that. You know what occurred? I almost said happened, but nothing happened. You know what occurred in the mind is that all of a sudden there was this nitpicking. Oh, wait a minute. If you have this much fat, then you're unhealthy. Kids, they didn't even know. They're just playing and having fun and eating and stuff. And then there's this idea that you can have the wrong size body. You can have too much body fat. Oh, what a guilty concept that is. Now I have to work. Now I have work to do. Before I was just playing. Now I actually have work to do to make sure that it doesn't go to that for me.
Well, Well, there's lots of societies where body fat is attractive. You want as much fat as possible. It's all subjective.
It's all whatever it is. It's all whatever it is that you think you want. And you know, before you think you want it, your mind knows that you want it. It's actually, look, it's all projected from the mind, even thinking that you want it. So if the mind is projecting that you want it, the mind is also capable of producing a manifestation of it. It's just that you get in the way and try to manipulate it. And let me put it this way, you have no idea what you want because your mind is always projecting different wants for you. And the thoughts are always coalescing to go there to make it manifest. And on the way there, it could change into something else. It's just a flow. It's just in letting it flow freely. And it's you know, it truly is. I know it sounds kind of cliche at this point to say it's the journey, not the destination, but it truly is, because there isn't a destination. There really isn't a destination in the illusion that's like, oh, you're there. You know, the journey truly is the destination, and from beyond the illusion, there is an end game. There is an end goal. There is, you know, and that's return to sanity. Any path in the illusion isn't helping you to return to sanity, okay? And pursuing any path in the illusion is not helping you to return to sanity. But everything is coming to help you return to sanity. Everything is coming, so you don't have to pursue any path, because there isn't a path like that. Everything is coming. All things are coming together for good, and that good is your mind returning to sanity.
Which is laughter. Laughter.
That's right.
The ultimate laughter, the best medicine.
We're laughing ourselves all the way home.
Mm-hmm.
We're laughing ourselves home. That's right. All right. You got a chicken where you are, huh, Bob? That's got to be you.
Roosters, yes.
A rooster's right. That's a rooster sound. Thank you.
Was agreeing.
But you know that rooster was apparently born from a chicken. I'm just playing.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Oh, all right. I love you, everyone. Let me know if you have any more questions. I don't know if anything else is going to come up. We will see.
I'm ready for bed.
You ready for bed? That's so cute, Lori. You're such a sweetheart. Thank you for staying up. I know it's super late over there. So, this is sponsored by Miracle Botanicals, as always. Also, like I said, my GoFundMe will be on my Facebook page. Tomorrow morning, I'll post it to my personal Facebook page. Please, if you feel inspired, share it, donate to it. Any donation helps, because you know what, even if you just donate $1 or something, I think it kind of like kicks it up a notch, like as far as what kind of play it's getting on GoFundMe. So like if you feel like, oh man, I'm strapped, I don't have like money to give to this thing, I don't know, give the minimum, like $1, just to like bump it, just to like give it a bump, you know, because every time a donation comes, it gets a little bump. That's the way I understand it anyways. And then other than that, sharing it is so awesome. If you have any groups, if you have any networks, if you know of people who have deep pockets, so to speak, and they're interested in undoing the guilty illusion, and they might be interested in my work and what I've got going on here, share that. That would be so awesome. And yeah, I'm doing Wisdom Dialogues every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Hawaii time. Also every Monday in person. If you find yourself on the island and you want to join me for Wisdom Dialogues, I'm on the Big Island every Monday at Michelle's down in Wawa. Get in touch with me if you're coming from out of town, because what I found out is the GPS takes you around in a big circle. From my friend Margaret, it takes you around in a big circle. You end up hitting lava at different, not physically, but you know, you end up in a lava dead end. So let me know if you're coming, and I can tell you the real directions to get down there. You're coming from off island or you don't know the area. Other than that, yeah, I love you. Oh, hopejohnson.org. Go to mountain.org. Check it out. It's freaking awesome. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm looking forward to being in touch with you. I love you. Mahalo. Aloha. And a hui ho.
You ho.
Hooray. I love you.
Hope I love you. Thanks.
Aloha.
Bye, Bob.
Bye.